I'd like to thank the grace of heaven, the virtues of the masters, and the compassion and mercy of the grand predecessors, senior transmitters, temple masters, lecturers, and everyone for giving me this opportunity today to learn to speak about chapter 78, which is chapter 78 of the classic of the way and the virtue. Okay, this chapter is called Water Virtue, or the Virtue of Water. All right, it's a relatively short chapter. Well, it's short. It's about average, but anyway, it's divided into 3 sections. Okay. So the first section is talking about the qualities of water, how it's soft and weak, which overcomes or triumphs over the hard and strong. Okay. And it's basically talking about the uniqueness also of water. Okay, that's the first section, first 3 phrases. Okay, the uniqueness of water, how it nourishes all living things, yet it can destroy things, through erosion, right? Through erosion. So it embodies both, you can say, aspects of what life and death, right? And then nothing can replace water, right? So it is the best metaphor for Tao because it's irreplaceable, right? Okay, so that's section 1. Section 2 is the analysis. It's basically how it's the qualities of water or the traits of water. It's related to life in that water may seem weak, yet we see in life the weak can overcome the strong. Same thing as water is soft, right? It overcomes the hard. So, soft overcomes the hard. Remember chapter 76, soft and pliant, right? Okay. All right. Soft or gentle and flexible, right? Soft and pliant. Okay. So this principle of nature, which is, a reflection of the Tao, is known by everyone, but not everybody can can practice it. All right. Okay. And he gives a reason why. Okay. And he gives it. Okay. So the last section, the last 6 phrases, if you will, okay. He's talking about what sages say. There are two things that sages say, that those who can accept and acknowledge humiliation of life state, we'll talk about that life, okay, is its master and is the master of one's life. And those who can accept and acknowledge setbacks or misfortunes of one's life can be the leader, you can say, or the king of one's life, okay, the ruler of one's life. Okay, so this truth of Tao serves seems contrary, though. That's what the last phrase 11, he's saying that this truth of the Tao seems contrary to real life, because most people react to humiliations and setbacks negatively due to the natural tendency, right, of human nature, right? So that's why this is the opposite of how sages handle adversity. All right. Okay. So that's the overview, all right, of chapter 78. Now let's go to the outline. Okay. All right. The outline. All right. Water virtue. Okay. So nothing in the world softer or weaker than water, yet nothing is better than that which can overcome the hard and strong, because there is nothing which can replace it. All right, so what does it mean? Okay, what's this say? Okay. So, all right, so this is basically a further expansion of the idea of, okay, well, 2 things. The water, how water best, you can say, is a good metaphor for or symbol for the Tao, and also the qualities of water, or we say, or if you want to translate, convert it to respect to humans, it's the virtue of water, right? Okay, so the quality of water being soft, right, and weak, or, because it's formless, shapeless. But it's despite that type of appearance, it has some virtues. It has some virtues that cannot that cannot be replaced. Okay, that's irreplaceable. All right. So chapter 76, we talk about soft and pliant. So it's kind of further reinforces that idea. Let's see, these we all talked about in previous chapter 76, I believe, 76 or 30, I think 36 too, 36. But anyway, okay, all right, okay. So basic meaning of the first. So let's talk about the physical side. The physical side is that water is softer and weaker than anything in the world because as a liquid, right? Water is formless and shapeless. I mean, as a liquid, right? I mean, it could be a solid, right? As an ice block, okay? Yet it can overcome the hard and strong things of the world. Of all the things in the world, only the water is the softest and weakest, right? I mean, besides air, right? I mean, air, okay? But all right, so besides a gas, right? Okay, so in its natural state or typical state, water as a liquid, right? It's soft and weak, right? Okay. Now, so that's a metaphor for nothing. Now, that quality of water being soft and weak, he's using that as a metaphor to say, oh, water is very adaptable and powerful. So there's nothing more powerful and adaptable than water. All right. Okay. So now, okay. So although water is soft, but over time, the dripping water or the running water, right, can bore through or penetrate through solid rock, right? This indicates that the softness of water hides tremendous strength. So that you can say that underneath that softness or behind the softness of that water, there is some strength, okay, behind it. So like, for example, the valleys being carved out of rock over time, right? Grand Canyon, right? I think we talked about a little bit about what's the softest in chapter, I think 40, right? Chapter 40, it's called the softest, right? We talked about that, right? Erosion with the different thing. Okay, I think it's chapter 40, 43, the softest, not 40, 43, all right? The softest, all right? Okay, all right. Now, because water is a liquid, it has no defined shape, right? So it takes on the form of its container, right? Okay, so if you pour water in a cup, it takes on the shape of the cup. You pour into a pitcher, it takes on the shape of a pitcher. You pour into a bottle, it takes on the shape of a bottle, etc. So this makes water appear weak, right? Yeah, it's shapeless, right? It has no, but you can hit water, but you cannot damage it, right? How can you hit the water? You hit the water. Yeah, it sort of disperses, it gives way, it yields, right? That when you hit water, at the liquid state, obviously, okay, it yields, right? It gives way, but then it comes back. I mean, it goes back, returns to its original shape or whatever, right? Form, okay? So water, although it appears weak, cannot be broken, right? So that's why, there's strength behind that, all right? There's strength behind yielding, giving way, all right? Okay, all right, so this all hints at at something. Okay, so the last phrase is that there's nothing that can replace it, all right? So that's because water is special, because it is unique and essential. It's unique and essential, right? Unique being that it's soft and appears weak, that because it's formless and shapeless, but yet it's strong, it's powerful, right? Okay, it can't break, it can't be broken. And yes, it's essential because why? All living things need water, right, to survive. Okay, so if you go to a desert planet, like Mars has no water, so you can't survive. Life can't survive, right? Okay, so in the previous phrase, right, water can carve through solid rocks, right? So water can destroy anything through the process of erosion over time. At the same time, water is also essential to life because all living beings require water. So there's no substance in the world that can replace water, which embodies both the qualities of life, it nourishes life, and death, the destruction, in the sense that it can carve through solid rock, right? It can break down things, right? Okay, so now that's the physical side. Now let's look at the more a little bit more, I mean, well, physical and the more intangible side, non-physical side. Okay, so what is rigid, tough, cannot last long, right? But the supple or soft can last longer, right? That's, remember, chapter 36, right? Soft overcomes the tough, okay? Then the strong, the strong only lasts for a very short time, but the weak lasts a longer time. So the weakness can overcome the hardness, right? That's the weak overcomes the strong. That's chapter 36 also. Okay, so then let's go to the more more metaphorical side. I mean, the more in non-tangible side. That is, what is the meaning of behind soft and weak, right? That's our mind. That's our spiritual mind. All right. So that's all that's a metaphor for all the benevolent, compassionate, merciful, traits of our mind, the peace of mind, the harmonious mind, etc. And what is the metaphor for hard and strong? That's a non-spiritual mind, okay, or a regular human nature mind. And specifically, it just means it's you're non-benevolent, non-compassionate, merciless. Okay, I think we talked about this in 76, right? Okay, all right. So the implication is that, for all that is hard and strong, they all cannot surpass water. Okay, that means water will overcome that. Okay, water being the softest of the world can overcome the hardest things of the world, right? Remember, the softest things of the world override the hardest things in the world. That's chapter 43. Okay, we talked about that. Okay, all right. So water is also versatile. Okay, it's adaptable. It's very versatile in that it is essential for all living things. So it has the ability to nourish as well as destroy. Because water embodies both aspects of life and death, there's nothing that can replace water in this respect. Okay, water represents both. I mean, it embodies both type of quality. It has both sides. So you can say it's complete. So it's now, so if you notice, it's very similar to the yin and yang symbol. You know how that the black and white symbol portions. It's an S curve, right? It's like an S curve, right? So it's like how the water flows. It's not a direct line. It's like it curves. Okay, so that's the idea. Okay, all right. So that's kind of like a symbol for also how the water flows. All right. Okay, so now let's look at the external side. External side is that nothing is softer or weaker than water, but water has the power to destroy the hard and strong things, right? Its versatility yet nourishes all living things, and its power can destroy solid rock. So this duality of water is a metaphor for the flow of life and death, all right? So that's on the external side. Now, on the internal side, okay, it just means that the soft and weak water that overcomes the hard and strong is a metaphor for a gentle, benevolent, compassionate mind that can overcome the non-benevolent, non-compassionate, inflexible, or constant mind, right? Remember chapter 49, sages have no all right, so we talked previous chapters. Okay, so water is the best metaphor for the Tao because water has the most virtuous integrity, the conduct or integrity, okay? Recall the 7 virtues of water, right? Okay, so let's look at Appendix A, all right? Recall, right, that? Remember we talked about that in chapter 8 a while back, 70 chapters ago. All right, okay, so there are the 7 virtues of water. It's also from section 2 of chapter 8. Okay, if you guys want to remember what it looks like. All right, it's a short chapter, chapter 8. All right, okay, here it is. Oops. Okay, let's expand it. Okay, be like water, chapter 8. Okay, chapter 8, it says be like water. So it's 3 sections, but okay, it's this section 2 here. All right, phrases 5 to 11. Okay, all right, so that's chapter 8. All right, be like water, or the 7 virtues of water. Okay, all right, so oops. Okay, all right, so here it is. All right, so just I'm not going to go through this because we've talked about it in 70 chapters ago, chapter 8. So it's all these qualities, or you can say virtues, okay? Because it can be current. All right, so that's very similar to how the Tao works, all right? The Tao works, okay? So that's how it is, all right? Or emulate the qualities of the Tao, okay? All right, so that's all this, all right? So I'm not going to go through it because we already talked about it, all right? So, ooh, where is it? Okay, all right, let's go back. Appendix A. Okay, all right, so water cannot be replaced, just as the Tao cannot be replaced, right? Because the water, how can I say, exemplifies many qualities or the virtues of the Tao. So that mirrors what the virtues of the Tao are. Okay, so let's go to section 2. Do I have time? Yes, okay. All right, that, the first half, okay, the first half, section 2. Okay, so that the weak overcomes the strong, that the soft overcomes the hard. Okay, so what is that? Okay, so that basic the meaning is that the weak is, okay, on the external aspect, okay, on the external side, there's external and internal, okay, so basically the weak is represented by the softness of water, right? That's the physical quality, the external quality, which is used as a metaphor to describe the soft qualities of a gentle, benevolent, compassionate, loving kindness, merciful, harmonious, peaceful, and calm mind. So that's the internal, right? So it has both, both aspects, right? The soft on the exterior, on the physical side, okay, represent, what our mind should be like, okay? The gentle, compassionate mind, merciful mind. The strong, okay, is represented externally by the hardness and the strength of rocks, right? That's what it is, which is the metaphor for the hardness of one's mind, right? That's the constant mind. Okay, I should say that constant mind, okay, aka constant mind, which is what? The inflexible, rigid, tough, and yielding mind. All right. Okay, so that's what it meant. Okay, so that's what the soft. So that means the gentle mind, right? That's in chapter 76, right? Can overcome the mind that is hard, rigid, inflexible, etc. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Another meaning is that what is an example of the weak overcoming the strong, right? Yeah, right. Let's real life examples, right? Okay, so in a confrontation, or we say in a argument, debate, confrontation, that's good. So if one side remains calm and in control, that's the soft, right? Okay, so maybe I should say here, maybe I should say that's the soft. Okay, that's represented by the soft, while the other side, okay, is screaming, yelling, jumping up and down. That's the hard, the rigid, the hard. You can say the hard or the rigid. Okay, then how would we regard? If we were to say, oh, who's winning? Which side is winning? Well, generally we would say the side that is the calmer side, right? The side that's not agitated, that's not screaming, jumping up and down, right? So that's the idea. All right. Okay. So calmness can overcome the agitated, the violent, the rigid. Okay. All right. The soft can overcome the inflexible or the sound. Okay. So what's the example? Oh, sorry. Okay. So there's another example, okay, of the soft. Okay, so that was being the weak overcoming the strong. Then what's an example of the soft overcoming the strong? What's an example of that in real life? So think about all the toughest, fathers of the world. They love and care about their daughters. That's, their daughters are what? The soft, right? The weak, the soft, okay, overcoming the hard, the toughest father, right? Okay, so that's in real life. Okay, all right. So in nature, okay, in nature, being weak is to be soft and pliant, right? That means one's alive. Yeah, that means it's alive, right? All living things are weak and are soft and pliant. That's chapter 76, by the way. Okay, so but being strong is to be brittle and hard or stiff. That means one's dead. So the weak, that's being alive, wins over the strong, being dead, right? Okay, that's chapter 76. All right. So, all right, fifth and sixth phrases. All right. So that's right. Okay. So now what this is evidence is that this is evidence in seeing how our tongues, right? That's soft, will survive far longer than our teeth. That's hard, right? I mean, that's right. When you see a lot of old people, right? They still have their tongues, but their teeth all fell out, right? Oh, this is gone, right? So, and the weak can outlast the strong, the soft can outlast the tough. So that's into Tai Chi, right? For example, or Judo or Aikido, or all those, right? You use the soft approach, the seemingly weak approach, yet to draw your opponent further in, and then you counterattack, right? Or strike him when they're the most vulnerable, right? So that's the same idea, okay? Same principle. So we can see it throughout life. Okay, so the key is that the strong can only last for a very short time, but the weak can last longer, okay? So what is tough or rigid cannot last long, but the supple and soft can last longer, right? So that's okay. So let's go to the second half of section 2. In the world, everybody knows this principle, okay? That the soft, that the previous phrase here, right? That the weak overcomes the strong and the soft overcomes the hard, right? Okay, so throughout the world, everybody knows this, but we cannot. But people somehow can't put it into practice, all right? Okay, so, and why is that? Okay, because, all right, everyone in the world knows that the weak can overcome the strong, the soft can overcome the hard. That's the previous two phrases. But no one actually applies it in life. That's what it means, okay, with that understanding. So that what he meant is that, that nobody can, yet no one can practice it in the world, okay, because we don't know how to apply it in life. With that understanding, okay, that's what it means, okay. All right, so even though we may intellectually understand the power of water, right, that the soft and weak overcomes the strong and hard, right, but we do not actually apply that understanding to life. That's the problem, okay, and there's a reason for that we will get to, okay. So although we know that water can overcome the hard and strong, the strong and hard, but we do not walk the walk with that understanding, and we do not apply it, we do not practice it. So why is that? Why is that so? Okay, here's the problem. Because most of the time, I'm not saying all the time, most of the time, people tend to fight fire with fire, right? For example, when someone yells at us, we tend to yell back louder, etc., right? When somebody plays a trick on us, we want to get back. We can't play a trick back on them, right? When somebody disrespects us, we disrespect them even more, right? That's the problem, okay? So we do not realize that a different approach is more effective. That's the soft and gentle, or soft and weak, okay? All right? So that's the problem. All right, so here's the thing. Everyone in the world knows the power of water, right? The water is very powerful, but no one has the means to practice and maintain its power, okay? Because of the common mentality or natural tendency of humans to requite the like for the like, okay? To give back the same, you disrespect me, I disrespect you even more, okay? So that's the idea, okay? Or to seek reprisal, right? Just, you play a prank on me, I'm gonna prank you back, right? So, okay, etc. All right, so a real life confrontation becomes like a staring contest, right? Each side holding on to see who blinks first, all right? That's the human tendency. So the reality is, because most people are afraid of backing down. Why? Because they are afraid of appearing to be weak, right? And why is that? They're afraid that they're afraid of appearing to be weak, because due to the manifestation of our egos most of the time. That's the problem. So it's the ego that we have that that drives everything. Okay, that drives us to be fearful of appearing to be weak, and therefore we are afraid of backing down. All right. Okay. So the key is that everyone in the world understands the power of water, but no one knows the way to learn the virtue of water. This is because most of the time we tend to requite the like for the like. We tend to have the mentality of what? An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, right? We tend to automatically seek reprisal, right? Or payback. This is a natural reflexive tendency of humans, which is a very common trait, and that's negative quality. Why? Because it prevents us from putting this understanding of the virtue of water into practice in life. That's why it's not good, all right? And so that's the obstacle, all right? Okay, that we cannot, we understand that, oh yeah, maybe on an intellectual level, right? That, yeah, hey, water, it's soft, it appears weak, et cetera, but but it has awesome qualities, right? It's essential to life, and yet it can, even though it's weak, it appears weak, right? It's formless, shapeless, and yet, but it has lots of power. It's strong. It can overcome the hard, right? The hardest and the strongest. So we may understand that intellectually, but yet somehow we can't put into practice. We can't apply that understanding in our lives, and the reason is because ultimately it's because our ego gets in the way, right? And because of our ego, then we have a fear of appearing weak, therefore fear of backing down, right? And so also it's also a natural human tendency. We don't have to think, right? We don't have to step back. We don't have to pause, because we just what? Requite the like for the like. That means what? It's a reflexive natural tendency, right, of humans to what? Give back, right? Give back what has been dished out, right? So that's the problem. All right. Okay. So that's the problem. Okay. So now let's go to the conclusion. Okay. Section 3. We're making good time here. All right. Okay. So therefore, sages say that the one who accepts humiliation of the state is called its master. Okay. All right. So all right. Let's talk about this term here. Let's say okay, there are two things to different. Now, on the surface level, it seems that, hey, yeah, looks like Lao Tzu is talking about being a ruler, right? Yeah, the state, right? The one who can become the country's master, right? The state's master. Well, it's many levels. Yes, one level it means that, but another level it applies to individuals. Okay, all right. So let's look at the term here. Let's okay. All right. So country, yeah, this term means country, state, okay, etc. But it's really also a metaphor for your own life. That's your own kingdom. Okay. So understand what that means. All right. Okay. Now this term, let's look at here. Okay, I translate as humiliation. Okay, and if you want to look at a dictionary, if you go to a dictionary, okay, it literally means this: dirt, filth, stain, okay, dirty, filthy. But in the ancient context, okay, it means this. Oops, it means, it means disgrace, humiliation, all right? Okay, disgrace and humiliation, which is a metaphor for all the negative traits, things, or qualities in life. Okay, so that's what it means. All right, so there's a broader meaning. Okay, all right, okay. Now this term, okay, literally it means country and state. Whoa, literally it means it means country and state. Okay, all right, okay, all right. But what it is actually is that it's really altars. They're altars to the deities or the gods of the earth and grain. That's what it is. Okay, so this term is an altar to the god of, I think, god of earth, and this is the altar to the god of grain. Grain, god of granary. The harvest, god of harvest. Okay, I think in Greek mythology they are very similar too. Okay, so in an ancient, what it means is that in ancient times in China, every kingdom has their own altars to worship, to worship. Yeah, you can say to worship altars to the deities of the earth and the deity of the granary of harvest. Okay, so that's what represents a country, a state, a kingdom. That's what it means. All right. Okay. All right. So the basic meaning is sages say the following: at the kingdom level, at the kingdom, for the rulers is how does a ruler handle how a person, a ruler, a king, handle a humiliating defeat by being able to acknowledge and accept it, by rallying the people, by rebuilding the strength of the kingdom and emerging stronger than before. And by doing so, then this ruler is truly the master of the kingdom, right? So if a ruler is able to do that, is able to acknowledge and accept some kind of humiliation, it could be a defeat, it could be in war, it could be anything, okay, it could be that, okay, just some kind of humiliation, all right, okay, but if they can rally the people, if they can rebuild the strength of the kingdom, right, then, okay, then they can what? Rebuild the kingdom back, right, to be stronger than before. So then that's really the true ruler of the kingdom. Okay, so that's on a kingdom scale, country scale level. Okay, talking about the ruler, but also it applies to our personal lives. Okay, so on a personal, on each individual, how do we handle how to handle a humiliating setback in life, rather than to rail against it, right? Or rather than to rail against it, or do not live in denial. I don't know. This doesn't. Okay, rather than to rail against it. Okay, but not to and do not live in denial. Don't deny it. Okay, don't reject it. Right, deny it, because that's a human tendency. Okay, we'll talk a little bit right after. Now, rather it'd be better to acknowledge what has already occurred, learn from that experience, that setback, that humiliation, etc., then make the appropriate adjustments in yourself, and then emerge stronger than before, right? So that's what Lao Tzu is talking about, everyone. Okay. Now, also on the external level, they say sages say, right? Sages say, because it's talk about sages say, right? Therefore, sages say, right? So it seems that, hey, for the sages, they possess the mastery of life. Okay, they understand life, so they can, they're able to acknowledge, recognize if there's any humiliation involved or whatever, right? They seem to sail through everything effortlessly. Things seem to work out really well for them, all right? Because and there's a reason for that, which we'll get to, all right? Okay. Now, also that's on the external level, but there's also internal meaning, which is the sage is our Buddha nature. The Buddha nature, it can accept humiliations and setbacks with ease. Why is that? Because it has no ego. That's why. So even though on the human level, human nature, the human mind or whatever, human mind, human nature, you can call, we tend to what? We definitely do not like to accept humiliations and setbacks, right? Or even if we do accept it, that comes a little bit later. But initially, our reaction is always either shock, denial, blame, anger, etc., right? Whereas the Buddha nature has none of that, because it has no ego. Okay, that's because it's driven by ego, why humans react that way, right? So this is why the Buddha nature essence is the true master. That's the true master oneself. It's not our ego. Our ego is not the true master, because it cannot accept humiliation, setback with ease, or without being angry, without being in denial, etc., or blaming others, right? Okay, so it appears, all right, okay, it appears, okay, that Lao Tzu is talking about the ruler, right, on an external level, but it's not, okay, but it actually is addressing leadership in general, not just for the ruler, but for everybody, okay, and mastery, that's the leadership of one's life in particular. So the surface context should be context, sorry, okay, context is about, okay, it's about the kingdom, okay. The surface context is about the kingdom or the country, okay? But the deeper context is about what? The organization that you're involved in with other people, that's at a social level, or your life, the personal life. of you being the ruler of your own life. That is your own kingdom. All right. Okay. So that's what it means. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. So the key is this. All right. Where are we? Okay. Here you go. I'm trying to find my mouse here. Okay. All right. So the key point is this. Okay. There's a misconception that sages are lucky, are fortunate, because sages do not have to deal with all the negativity that people have to deal with every day. That's the misconception. Sages can say that they have this intellectual understanding because they're not involved in the real world. The real world that they have to, But actually, the truth is this: everyone goes through ups and downs, including sages. Okay, in life, sages are no exception. The only difference, and that's the key, is the way they handle negativity in life. Okay, so maybe I should underline this. That makes it better. The only difference, okay, is the way they handle negativity. Okay, in life. Okay, handle negativity in life. All right, that's the difference between a sage and a regular human being. Or you can say that's the difference between the Buddha nature and the ego, right? Okay, all right, so that's why. All right, so let's see, where are we? Let's go to the last section here. Okay, so where do we still have time? Yeah, we still have time. Okay, all right, so let's go to let's go to the last three lines, okay? Or last three phrases, okay? So the one who accepts misfortune of the state is called or becomes the king of the world. The truth seems like the opposite. Okay, all right, okay. So, all right, now this phrase, okay, this phrase, okay. So this means not. The first word means not. Okay, not, n or un, the negative prefix. This xiang means auspicious, propitious, luck, good fortune, etc. All right, okay, or good omen. So what it means is just means it's bad luck, misfortune, calamity. It could be calamity, disaster. Now, what does that mean? It doesn't. I mean, yes, on the one level, it means all that, but at a different level, it just means it's a metaphor. At a broader level, okay, referring to a personal level, it's the metaphor for all the adversities, challenges, and obstacles in life. Okay, or it could be setbacks too. All right, so it just means all that. Okay, all right. Okay, let's go to the basic meaning. Okay, is at the kingdom level, or the ruler level, is that how a ruler handles a calamity, or you can say calamity, misfortune, disaster in the kingdom by rallying resources, leading people and efforts to rebuild the kingdom and emerge better than before. And by doing so, this ruler deserves to be not just the king of a kingdom, but the king of all under heaven. That means includes other kingdoms, countries, and states. So if a person can do that, the ruler, then they're not just going to become the ruler, the king of their own country, but they could become the kingdom of the world, basically. All right. Okay. So that's how great this person could be if they could do this, right? Okay. So now that's at a kingdom level. How about a personal level? Ooh, let's see. Okay. Let's see. Okay. All right. That's a lot here. Okay. Let's see. Okay. All right. So at the personal level, at the individual level, when something is not going well in life, right, because of adversity, challenges, or misfortune, it is not necessarily a humiliating defeat. Okay. You may just be hitting a road bump, a temporary obstacle, or going through turbulence. So like humiliation, right, on the previous phrase, okay, previous lines, misfortune, that's negativity, is something to be accepted, not denied, but seen as a lesson. So by understanding with composure, right, we have to view it that way, okay? View all challenges, adversities, misfortunes, okay? We have to accept that and understand it with composure. So by making appropriate adjustments to make things better than before, then people all over will endorse you, okay? Then that's how people will recognize you, all right? Will acknowledge that, hey, this person, they're able to overcome all those challenges, et cetera, or obstacles, okay? So now if you could do that, this is what happens. You become the ruler of your world. That's the kingdom all under heaven. That's your world plus all your interactions in and out of your various circles, be it your family circle, work circle, social circle, etc. So these are different worlds, right? The world of your family, the world of your work, the world of your social circle, etc. Your social, right? A connection, social interaction. So these are all the different worlds, get it? Or different kingdoms, different worlds. So that's your whole life. That you can what? Literally be in charge, be the master of all your life. Okay, all those. Okay, so at the external level, all right, sages, like everyone else, also have to deal with adversity, challenges, and misfortunes in life. But they deal with them without arrogance, without claiming credit, without displaying their virtue, right? Remember chapter 77, right? Sages act, but without conceit, achieve merit, but without claiming credit. They do not wish to display virtue, right? So that's how sages are. On external, we see these sages are like. Now, what about internally? Internally, the Buddha nature, or the sage, right, can accept and handle all adversities, challenges, misfortune, and setbacks in life because it deals with them without having an ego, without conditions, without contrivance or agenda. This is why the Buddha nature is the king, the true master of all the worlds of phenomena. Okay, so that's where this and we went through this on a previous chapters. Okay, so here, what does this king represent? Right, the king represents that it penetrates or transcends the three realms of desire. That's what our Buddha nature is. The Buddha nature transcends, right? Okay, unlike our ego, our human mind, right? Okay, it doesn't transcend the three realms. Okay, it's still within it. Okay, so that's what it means. All right. Okay, so and also so here it is. It's the one who's a king is one who transcends the three realms. So the Tao penetrates the realm. Okay, so our Buddha nature penetrates the realm. Okay, all right. So that's what it means. All right. Okay, at the more higher level. Okay, or at the metaphysical level. All right. So now let's talk about the last phrase. I still have time, right? Yeah, last phrase. The very last phrase. What's the very last phrase? It's the truth seems like the opposite. Okay, so it means it's like it's counterintuitive, or okay, or not very people understand that. Okay, all right, so here it is. Let's see. Okay, where are we? Okay, right here. All right, so basic meaning is this, is that the truth of the Tao seems like the opposite because the truth meaning that, just for the two previous phrases, saying that, if we can accept humiliation of the state, that's being the master, it's master of the state. And that if we can accept the misfortune, right? Or, challenges of the state, then one becomes the king of the world. Okay. All right. So, okay. So that truth, or that, that principle, right, seems like the opposite of what the what's like in real world. Okay, all right, it seems like that. Okay, what most people seem like that. And why? Because people usually handle adversity or challenges or whatever, all the negative stuff, with the refusal to accept initially, and then lashing out in anger, blaming people, etc., or whatever, or blaming everybody else. Okay, now what is this really a trend? Is people tend to be in denial, they blame others, feel pain and guilt, become angry and reject responsibility. They become depressed. Now, that's the 5 stages. They call them in psychology. That's called the 5 stages of grief. Now, they expanded later to 7, but it's the 5. Okay, that's it's a psychologist. I think it's a Swiss American psychologist. It's called, those of you who who take who are in HR, or who took psychology, okay, would probably remember that. It's called I think it's called a Kubler-Ross matrix or something like that, or something. Okay, you can look it up. It's they call it, originally it's called the 5 stages of grief. Now it's 7. It's Kubler-Ross. Okay, all right. So that's what it is. Okay, so most people are like that, and because this psychologist, she studied human behavior and it's kind of like realized that, hey, humans have this tendency to go through these stages, okay, when they encounter setbacks. All right, okay, all right, okay, all right, okay. So additional, and the main reason is because we realize that it's our ego, it's in control, so therefore we do that. All right, Buddha nature doesn't have to go through that, right? Okay, all right. So additional this is this: when we are cultivating the Tao, when we study the Tao and start paying attention, we can notice that there are all kinds of opposite, contrary manifestations in our lives. Okay, now this is one of them. Okay, that is, people usually react badly when bad things happen to them. This is part of human nature. It's just as true today as it was in the ancient times, during Lao Tzu's time. Okay, so we should kind of like realize that. All right, so whenever we encounter any adversity, setback or humiliation or all that, okay, we should kind of step back, catch ourselves, be mindful, and say, "Ooh, are we going to react like, the 5 stages of grief, right? Okay, all right, okay, like that, that's ordinary people, or no, let's not have our ego control. It's not easy, obviously, but as Tao cultivators, if we study more, if we learn more, understand more about the Tao, then we will, you will have that understanding and that ability to wait a minute, to sort of like step back, right, and say, wait a minute, that's not how it should be. You should accept it, acknowledge it, accept it. Don't be in denial, and then deal with it, right? So that's really what it is. Okay, that's what our Buddha nature would be. Okay, that's when our Buddha nature is in control. All right. Okay, so further understanding is that only Tao cultivators are able to react in a positive, constructive, flexible, and powerful way like water. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to get. That is the graceful acceptance, understanding with composure, flexible and adaptable in one's actions or adjustments without any sense of ego or any arrogance or self-assertion or presumption or self-approval, self-display, or self-praise. So this is the hardest part. This is where the kung fu is. Okay, so I mean, it's so that's why it takes time. We have to cultivate, right? Once that, so that's why we have to react in a very positive, constructive, like water. So we have to understand that water, the virtues of water. Okay, so that's why. All right. Okay. So the implication is this: is that humiliation, right? That's the first part of it, right? Sages say, right, those who can accept humiliation of the same. So humiliation is actually a subset of all misfortune that we will encounter in life, right? Yeah, I mean, you can say all misfortune includes humiliation, right? Okay, so that's fine. Okay, so acceptance in the Tao context, is not wallowing in defeat or sorrow. Yeah, right. Okay, not wallowing, not be immersed or drowning yourself in defeat or sorrow. Rather, it means learning and recovery. All right. Okay, learning and recovery. So now let's summarize what some of the key takeaways of this chapter is. Okay, so that's the idea of the soft and gentle approach, the water approach, right? The be like water, right? The water, right? The very first phrase of this sentence, right? Nothing in the world is softer or weaker than water. Okay, so there's a famous actor, or he's a martial artist, by the way, right? Bruce Lee. He said, "Be like water, my friend," because he says, when you pour water into a cup, it becomes the cup, right? When you pour water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle, right? Same way. So be like water, right? Okay, now, and so what is, even though he was talking it from from the martial arts perspective, because that's what his his philosophy behind his martial arts is like be like water, so be flexible. So he says it's be formless, be shapeless. That is by being formless and shapeless. So from Bruce Lee's perspective, he was talking from the perspective of the martial arts. It's called Ji Kong Do, Ji Kong Dao, Ji Gong Dao. I think that's the Mandarin. Okay, well, Ji Kong Do is the Cantonese pronunciation. But anyway, his form, his martial arts, but it's trying to be formless and shapeless. And why? Because from his martial arts, technique or whatever, if you can be formless and shapeless, then you can adapt to changing conditions seamlessly. Like it seems like it's there's no gap, no bump. Okay, in between. It's a smooth transition. That's what it means. Okay, so water, it's like water. Why? Because water can get into anywhere. It can fit into anything, right? So this is a metaphor for the ubiquity, or you can say the everywhereness or commonality or commonness, everywhereness of the Tao. Because the Tao permeates all of phenomena, right? So every layer of existence, it permeates every layer of existence. So just because water is formless and shapeless does not mean it is weak. You can flow, but also smash when necessary, just like water. All right. So that's what he meant. All right. Okay. So that's Bruce Lee. All right. Be like water. Okay. So it's very, it's like emulating the virtues of water. And that's what the Tao is. Okay. So it's very interesting. Okay. So, and the water, one of the traits of the water is that, it's soft. Right? It's soft and weak. That's the gentleness. It overcomes the hard and strong, right? Now, so think about all the ways this principle is reflecting reality. Notice the manifestation of that. So we got to be careful, right? Remember the 5 stages of grief or whatever. Okay. All right. Okay. How we react. So we have to be careful. Okay. We said, okay, we have to, and also watch this tendency to be this, okay, to be stubborn, right? That's the constant mind, okay, the inflexible mind, okay. Lay down the law, be unyielding, unbending, or cut people off, be impatient, right? So instead, we have to find a skillful way to divert this negativity into a positive, okay. So we got to be mindful, and that's what the soft and weak represents, okay. And also, we have to recognize the ego, the rebel of the ego, how the ego reacts. So we have to be aware of this constant mind, this rigid mind, because it's the ego that's driving it. All right. Then lastly, it's graceful acceptance, right? Okay. There will be times when this is when things do not go well. This is a fact of life, reality of life. Even sages encounter this. Okay. So it's not a matter of if, but when. And this is why we should be well prepared, well in advance, to willingly accept and face all adversities, challenges, and misfortune without blaming others, but rather face them with dignity, fortitude, and grace. All right? Okay, so, all right, so let's go back. We're almost there. Okay, all right, so the key point is this is why, this is why sages say, those who can accept and acknowledge humiliations and setbacks of the state are called masters of their kingdom, or for the individual level, it's the masters of their life and their world, okay? And become the king of all under heaven of one's world or life, okay? Because this is a reflection of the principle of Tao. That is, the weak overcomes the strong, the soft overcomes the hard. This is like the water virtue, okay? Now, this connects back, right, to the first line, where water seems like the softest and weakest thing there is in the world, and yet it excels in overcoming the hardest things, okay? Where all living things require it, and yet nothing can stand against its power. So this is the most essential and irreplaceable element of all, the water, that is, okay? So whereby observing water in nature, despite its yielding and weak appearance, because it's formless and shapeless, and it's soft, right? It reveals a truth. That is, the weak overcomes the strong and the soft overcomes the hard, all right? Now, this is a principle that we can all understand, yet somehow we cannot put it into practice. This is because humans still have a tendency to meet force with force, to requite the like for the like, to fight fire with fire. We do not realize that a different approach is more effective, which is to emulate water, to take the soft or gentle approach. Therefore, sages say, by accepting and acknowledging humiliation calmly requires far more strength of character than to respond with denial, blame, hostility, and aggression. Whereas the power of water guides us to yield and overcome. This is to be the master of one's life. That's the kingdom, all right? Okay, where when we encounter misfortunes or challenges, obstacles, setbacks, if we can be like water, then we too will have the depth of character to overcome difficulties and disappointments in life, okay? Whereby understanding the lesson of water, that is the soft and gentle approach, we are able to graciously accept and handle setbacks and become the king under all heaven, or become the master of our world, our life, okay? Thus, by embracing the seemingly soft and weak, that's the water, we gain personal power. This is a truth that appears contrary to expectations at first glance or at the superficial level, okay? Where to be soft and weak is to be formless and shapeless like water, is to emulate the formless and shapeless Tao. This is the water virtue, or the virtue of water. Okay, this concludes chapter 78. Okay, we're about 96, more than 96% of the way done. All right, 3 more chapters. And okay, so this concludes today's discussion. All right, so if I've said anything wrong or incorrect, I ask for the Buddha's and Lao Tzu's forgiveness and guidance, and everybody's guidance. Okay, thank you, everybody.